Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? Great to see everybody. Welcome to you all that may be watching on YouTube or Facebook or any other streaming platform. And we've got a nice full room, so I appreciate you all coming out. Do we have any first-time visitors tonight? Awesome. Bunch of visitors. That's awesome. So next question is, we have any first-time new members tonight? We have any new members as of tonight? Yeah, all of you visitors, we'll be talking to you as new members before long. We have the best deal in town, so I'm sure that Jim will get you fixed up. But thank you for coming out. It's exciting to have you. We're kind of in a point where there's not a ton of like really deep administrative stuff. I've had a really long day. We're trying to turn over a pool on a construction project, and we have a leak under the concrete somewhere. And so if I blaze through this agenda, let me know if I need to slow down. Couple of things that I wanted to talk about. A brief shop update. I know last month and the previous months we've talked about we think we have our location lined out. That's still progressing. It still's looking good. There's no real hard factual details yet. Or I guess they're all facts, but there's no hard signed leases or anything like that. But things are going well still. So if you have any more detailed questions, let me know. But things are still looking good.
What part of the city?
It's going to be really close to here.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's right on the Southwest Boulevard corridor. So, yeah, a lot closer to the restaurants. So I think everyone will be happy with it. But as we know more, we'll make a formal announcement once we know something that I can't get myself in trouble for saying. So Mike McCauley's not here, so we'll skip over his part. David Roth, our secretary, said that you do have something to report. Nothing to report. Craig Arnold is our member at large. He didn't have anything. John Steyer, do you have an update for us other than we're paying our bills? Okay. He says we're good. We're paying our bills. We appreciate all the work John's doing. And not easy to step into Gary's shoes, as was our treasurer for so long. Chuck, I know you have you want to come up and do some encouragement of the members. Chuck leads our charge on the projects that we do that bring in revenue to keep our revenue down. So we'll give Chuck the floor.
We've got these turf boxes everywhere, but these are the last of them for this order.
Come back here so you can get on TV.
Well, don't clap yet. They're not done. That's where you all come in. We tried bribing you with pizza. We're booting your cars right now. Each of you do 20, you'll be out of here in no time. Otherwise, we need people to sign up. We need people to come in on Thursday, come in on Friday. Thursday's running a little short right now. We can use more people. Yes, sir.
What kind of tools do you need to bring in if you come in?
If you have an awl and a screw gun, one that's gentle, because these are very tiny screws. Those would be handy. We don't have
Putting on hinges.
just putting on the hinges, putting on the latches. Yeah, it's quicker.
I mean, what hours?
Hours?
Hours, not
9 to 3.
what?
9 to 3. And we'll even give you lunch on Thursday. Delicious pizza. Friday, I'll have my smoker down here. And we'll have some fresh barbecue for everyone who's worked on the turf box projects. And I will know if you've worked on the turf box project.
That's a deal right there.
Other thing I've got our friend from Southeast Industries that asked us to make jigs to help their sheltered workshop put stoppers in bottles. And we've kind of dropped the ball on that twice. He's come by. He came by earlier this week and would really like our help. And started this with Ryan, who then, to get out of it, had a baby.
Just blame me.
But he's back. You know, that child bonding only lasts for a little while, then you hand that off. So he's back. It'd be a good project for one or two people to work together on and not feel like you're working all alone. That's what I got.
Any questions for Chuck? How's the shop going? Any encouragements there for use of the equipment?
I hate you all. I want you all dead. Why do you hate tools?
I said encouragement.
Oh, nothing. No.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Nice to get a little comedy hour as well. So Brian, communications, Brian Rohrbaugh. Nothing. Ron Hall, newsletters. Great job again on the newsletter team. And I don't see Ron in here, but if you've got an article or something you're working on, please, we'd love your article to go in the newsletter. I know everyone gets tired of me having a paragraph and the same old people. We'd love to see what you all are working on. It's by all means, we would love to see it. And if you're going on vacation, you see something fun. I think Brian actually had an article about things on vacation. So, and that was great. Don, anything besides magazines and books for sale? DVDs in the raffle. That's awesome. So buy some tickets. And hey, books for $1, magazines 25 cents, 5 for $1. So I've told you all many times before. I used to seek out all those fine. I wanted a full set of fine woodworking. It took me a while, and I got most of them. And now they're taking up space. I should come donate them in here.
You bought most of them here, though, didn't you?
No. It's actually, it was pre my Woodworkers Guild days. So that was a bad deal for me. So I want to remind everyone, we have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group. Please go interact. We interact with the community. People are asking questions, how to do certain things, where to buy wood, where to buy tools. We can recommend them to our sponsors, like, Rockler from the front row right here, or and other wonderful sponsors. We have an Instagram page. If you're working on stuff, feel free to tag the Woodworkers Guild. I do that from time to time. Craig does that. Craig, as you've had some good comment, good content on Instagram lately. The surfboard signs and things like that. So hey, somebody's looking. Might be just me.
Well, no one's buying.
Yeah. I'm sure you can connect with all kinds of clients. And also YouTube, we have tons of videos of these meetings, our skill builders, our podcasts, Woodworkers Guild, the podcast. And so go to our page. We've got a lot of good stuff on there, and subscribe, like the videos. No podcasts at the moment, and so I know that Kevin's looking to get back engaged, hopefully in the next month or two. Chris, anything from your side, from the AV or events?
I said always could use some extra help. Been doing some AV updates on cameras, so get some higher definition cameras and some different setups, and moving forward with that. But always can use some extra help with either helping with cameras or updating information on the YouTube videos. If you go to our YouTube page, there is chapters at the top. You can see videos that have been uploaded. There you can click on lives. All the lives are meetings and the skill builders. Most of the skill builders we also do live. There's also a tab for the podcast, so you can get caught up on podcast. And if you missed a meeting or a skill builder or anything, you can go back and watch the playlist. And it has all the playlists from our meetings in 2022 or 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 on playlist, as well as all the skill builders and podcasts are on playlist.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. Jim Berard membership. I know we've got. He reports that we had a pretty. It's a significant number. We have 911 members at the moment, until we sign up the new visitors today. So that's doing well. Jim, anything else to add? I know he's back there somewhere. Well, we'll keep going. Matt, do you want to discuss programs?
So tonight we have Tim O'Neill from Urban Lumber. I used to have my own wood miser sawmill years ago, and I would do a lot of cutting of urban trees. I know a few people in here I've cut for. And the good news is that Tim was able to make a full occupation out of the whole thing. I'm really excited to know that someone is able to do that. Let's see, next month will be the National Museum of Miniatures, of Toys and Miniatures. We had them here probably about 10 or 15 years ago, and they always give a really nice program. One of our members was, and I don't know if he still is a member or not, but he was the guy that makes the really tiny little furniture. For the big epoxy tables, this is for fixing up pieces of wood, making wood carving things and stuff like that. As a foreman, people come in and I say, well, I got this board and it's got this, what should I do with this crack in here? What should I do with this knot hole in here? That's the kind of thing that very small level of using epoxies. This is what this guy really is good at. And then the next month after that, what's his name? He's out there in California. Supposedly he never learned how to read or write, but this guy is a master wood person. And we'll have him on Zoom. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and he said he's really thrilled to visit with us. The good news is he's 2 hours in the other direction. You remember the last Zoom call we had was 2 hours east. That was pretty rough on him. Eric Hollenbeck.
What was the name of his woodworking?
Blue Ox. Yeah, the Blue Ox Mill in Eureka, California. I visited with him several times, and I think it's going to be a pretty good meeting.
For more information,
keep on throwing ideas at me. Give me ideas of what you like to see. So, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And Tim, we're looking forward to your program. When I said earlier that we could recommend on our Facebook page things where the people, they always want to know where to buy wood. So, hey, Urban Lumber. No, not right now. I'm just saying we'll introduce you in a bit. We're almost done with our agenda. Steve, Vinny, is Steve here tonight? He wanted to talk about safety orientation is now July 8th. That's coming up. Does anybody else have any other safety announcements?
What are your safety glasses?
Safety committee meetings will be held the second Tuesday of the month at 7. always looking for new members. So wear your safety glasses. That came out in the newsletter. So rough to ready, we've had 70 people going through rough to ready so far this year, which is outstanding. Dwayne, in sponsorship, we have things at the raffle, so go back and buy tickets. Dwayne, do you have other announcements?
No.
Okay, good. We're moving. Training. I don't think we have any announcements as far as training. Did anybody think of anything we need to discuss? Craftsman clock just went out, so take a look at that. Sign up for Craig's clock class. Anything else from training? Now we're going to just touch base with our SIGs. We have 5 special interest groups, which we call SIGs. So we usually run down the agenda there. So our hand tool SIG meets the 4th Sunday of the month from 2 to 4. Anyone here have any announcements for the hand tool SIG, Wayne?
Rob will be back. We'll be working on continuing on the sliding lid box.
Okay, so June 25th, which is this Sunday, be working on the sliding lid box. Wood carver SIG, Jim or Dan here. The wood carvers meet the 4th Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8. And anything wood carving, they do power carving, traditional carving, folk carving. So if you've got some carving questions, come on out. That's June 27th. Laser engraver SIG, June 28th. Meets the 4th Wednesday of the month at 7. Curtis, do you have any announcements?
If you want to be trained on the laser, come to the SIG, which will be right after.
Okay, training is right after the SIG. So if you wanted to be trained on the laser engraver, come out on June 28th. That SIG is at 7, so the training would be after that. Scroll saw SIG, George or John, anything to announce tonight? No. Okay. 2nd Wednesday of the month at 7, so the next meeting is July 12th. So you've got a few weeks to get amped up. CNC SIG, Gary or Ed. Ed is here, I believe, right? No, nothing to announce. Meets the 3rd Tuesday of the month from 6:30 to 7. So that's July 18th. So I think we caught all of the SIGs. Anything I missed from special interest groups? If you've got something that you're interested in starting a SIG, by all means, bring it up. I think we have a lot of freedom for people to dig in and go, do a deep dive in something you're interested in. Well, we did rip through that agenda pretty fast. It's 7:17. So now we'll do the best part, which is show and tell. We don't have the always fun Jim Bainey tonight. So we get the special treat of having Craig run us through the show and tell. So if you have a show and tell project, head on over, kind of line up so we can walk through and be able to see your projects.
Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, and when you come up, do your show and tell, Matt will give you a ticket, and that will get you into the free drawing for something worthwhile. So that encourages you. It's what? $25 of what?
American money.
Of American money. Wow. All right. You gotta like that. It's Confederate American. Okay. All right. Well, I am not Jim Bainey, but and I do occasionally shop at Harbor Freight. I got to get that out of the way. Since it's nice to be the king, so I will go first. I made a charcuterie board because no one can say charcuterie. Lay it down, okay. And so this was resawn off of a piece of, probably about 12-quarter walnut. And the fun part was making the jig that I could run across the bandsaw to resaw this. And with the live edge, I didn't have an edge to reference to, so I just screwed it onto the ends I knew I'd cut off from the planer snipe and was able to run it through straight up and down, and it came out perfect. So a little sanding on there. And then this is actually for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law down in Florida, and I personalized it to them for Laura and Ray, and then that's my little logo right there. But put some rubber feet on there and some finger grips, and just finished it with beeswax and mineral oil. So that's it for that. So who's next? Oh, stop. Okay, yeah, you two, come up here. All right, thank you. The battle of the technology. And there's a couple of people will say neither one of these guys are woodworkers. So. But then they're not here. Okay, so, all right, explain how this started. Grab a microphone down there, Curtis, with this image.
Okay. You want the mic? Curtis also does CNC work, not very much, but he does some. And he's very big into the laser. And one day I was back in the CNC room working on a project, and it was this box lid with a rose. And he came in and he had a little flower that he'd cut out on the laser and had assembled, and he brought it in and said, "See, look at this, what do you think?" I said, "That's pretty neat, but you can't do this." He looked at me and said, "Give me your file." And he did. So
anyway, I took his file and did that on the laser, and I think it turned out pretty well as far as kind of a comparison. But anyway, you got a comparison of what the CNC and the laser can do on the same file.
How long did it take you to do that, Curtis, figure all that out?
Oh, figure it out? Yeah. Oh, I couldn't tell you. It took a long time.
this was 3 months ago that this started.
It, you know, we got the file, but I had to alter it, make it work on the laser, so that took quite a while. But it took about an hour and a half to actually cut it. Yeah, and then I wanted Ed to do this with his CNC as well.
So he made 2 little miniatures there,
Little tiny
and
ones.
I think that's beyond the capability of my bits that I have. No, that is a rose. That is that rose that he shrunk. So, but anyway.
You want me to move it at all, or just leave it? Yeah. But there is a rose inside of there. You can see that. That's cool.
Anyway.
Okay, well, talk about your box.
Okay, it's walnut polyurethane finish, and the interior's got just little trays for storing whatever. So, oh yeah, finger joints, and the actually the entire box was done on the CNC. The molding on the edge was also done on the CNC. Kind of an interesting story, I think. Roger Bartlett, who has recently moved from the Kansas City area, was in the room when I was carving the moldings on the side, and he looked at it and man, that's got a lot. Ed, why did you put so many curves on there? You wouldn't have to spend so much time on the machine. I said, well, my wife's got curves, and I like her curves, and I wanted to like my box, so I put curves on my box. So that was my excuse anyway. So, but no, the finger joints were cut, or the box joints were cut on the CNC, and it was all just kind of a challenge to see if I could use the software to accomplish kind of what I wanted. And the whole idea was that it would look kind of like a squatty mushroom whenever I was finished. And if you look at it on edge, I think it kind of resembles that. So.
So I wanted to show you a couple other things that I made with the laser as well. These are little candle holders, I guess you could call it. But these are, I saw this online, but then I took the idea and designed it myself. I did this to kind of show that you can actually design on the light burn. You don't have to have a file download and all that sort of thing. You can make your own. So I designed this, and these are living hinges, and they actually I brought one separate and I broke it while I was demonstrating, but you can see that flexes, and then I made the supports that go under it and hold it in the shape. This one is straight off of the laser, with the exception of cleaning it up and then putting finish on it, and this one's got I painted it just for a little decoration. Craig told me I could make a lamp out of it, turn it upside down, make a lamp out of it, so things like that. But anyway, I wanted to show you, you can actually design and make things with the laser. It's not just for signs, and you don't have to just have a file. You can do your own.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions on this? And if you come to the CNC SIG, you'll learn how to do this. And you come to the laser SIG, you'll learn how to do that. Right? Hopefully. Okay. All right, thank you. Who's next? Come on up. Yeah, don't forget your tickets. Hey, Ken, how are you? Grab that microphone right there. Tell us about your box.
Okay, it's a box. Looks like a box.
Smells like a box.
I haven't checked that. But it's cherry. The finish on it is just shellac and wax. I guess it can be used for whatever you want. It's got a sliding tray in it. The box joints on the tray, the front and the back, they're inset into the ends. And it just has a brass pin through here for the hinge on it. The ends are tapered. I don't know what else you could say about it.
That's a beautiful crotchwood.
Fortunately, I have neither. I do have some tools.
Oh, real woodworking, huh?
I didn't say that. I may have thought it, though.
I love the flame in this crotchwood here. That is beautiful.
That's a small piece of wood that I had, and it just happened to fit the lid on this box, so that's where it ended up.
That is gorgeous.
I've been trying to use up some small pieces of wood that I have. I've been doing a lot of little boxes lately. And
so what are you up to, 3,000 to 4,000 boxes?
I don't know about that. But I do have some more small pieces that aren't scrap yet. They got to be pretty small before they get to be scrap wood.
Oh, very nice. Any questions for Ken on his box? All right, thank you, Ken. Who's next? Come on up. You get your ticket over here. See, the ticket, we're trying to bribe you to bring in all of your show and tell items. We want more and more, so that poor Calvin doesn't have to do much in a meeting. We can just have a show and tell night. And look at this. Calvin's back here clapping. All right, Andy, how you doing?
Good, good. These are bowls. I picked up some, I think it's ash in my neighborhood, and power carved them. And my power carving's a little different. This is Arbortech primarily.
That's a
some
rotary
King Arthur.
tool?
Yeah, it's a rotary tool. A lot of chips. A lot of fun. It's kind of different. This was kind of a challenge because it's so thin. And originally I was going to separate it, and I went, it's kind of neat. And then I made a mistake and dyed it black, and then I put soluble finish on it, and it turned it kind of brown and uglier. So, not sure when I'm going to do it. That one's a gift for my daughter. So
Very nice. Does she know about it?
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, she
good.
kind of
'Cause she
picked out
does
the
now.
stain. So she gets it tomorrow. So I don't know what I'll do with the others, but
Very nice.
it's just different, fun to make.
And this was neighborhood wood?
Yeah, yep.
Very cool.
So
And what's the finish on this?
this is got an amber or a light brown stain, sealer, and then cherry white bond.
Okay,
So and then salad bowl finish on top of it. So
very nice. All right.
I've
Any
got-
questions for Andy on these?
they're different.
Now, during the break, you can always see, look at all the show and tell items over on the table over there. You got a question?
What is salad bowl finish?
It's just food safe. It's just a food safe finish is all. So
It's a little bit harder than mineral oil.
Yeah.
Would be a little more durable.
so somebody wanted to put something in there, and my daughter's going to put keys in hers, so they'll be safe.
Now this, though, I mean,
Yeah, you could do.
you see those primitive tables set up, that would be ideal right now.
Yeah, which I wish I hadn't put the salad bowl finish on it. Turned it kind of that weird brown. So
Well,
I
it's
may
old
do
now.
something different. So
Power carve that off and,
yeah,
all right. Well, thanks,
it's a lot of
Andy.
fun.
So any other questions for Andy? Yes.
How do you hold your wood in place while you're carving it?
So
got
the
a,
question was, how do you hold your wood in place while you're carving it?
I've got a work. I think it's made by work. So it's a big thing, clamp on it, and you snap it down with your foot. And on
Kind of like a shave horse.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
very much. And a couple of them I had to screw a flat board on the bottom because once you start dealing with it, the clamps don't hold it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Andy. Who's next? Come on up, Susan. We're going to try to get out of here by 8 o'clock. All right? I'm kidding. No pressure, Tim. Microphone. There you are. Susan, what you got?
Well, I'm always talking about woodworking to my friends, and I figure the least I can do after I geek out to them, out to my friends about it, I just make them a present. This is for my friend Dottie, who is a tea drinker.
Oh, wow.
It's a tea box.
Okay, describe the way that the inserts go in.
I'm not sure. I think they're called V-grooves. Is
They
that
are
right?
V-grooves, yes.
I'm new at this
Mhm.
woodworking business. And then there's the Japanese paper in the bottom of it. And you can take these tea boxes fit in the spots, and I figure maybe tea bags here in the middle, but these all come out. So if she wanted to use it for something else.
Okay,
or
so how did you cut the groove portion?
on the router,
Okay, on the router table.
yeah.
Okay.
And then mitered the corners on the dividers
On what machine?
on the table saw.
Table saw. Very nice.
And the front of this is beveled back. It's my own design, and then the legs are beveled also.
A real Japanese feel to that.
Yeah.
And then the handle.
The handles are brass rod, and they're skewered through these little pieces of walnut. And then this is tied embroidery thread, kind of like you would tie a fishing lure or
Okay.
a rod.
Yeah.
And Dave Kratz happened to be here when I was working on that, and of course he knew how to do it. You know, so he.
Well,
he-
at first
he
I
helped
thought
me.
that was blue painter's
I
tape.
know. I wish.
Sorry.
In this room, everybody thinks it's blue painter's tape. If I go somewhere else, they're like, "Oh, it's embroidery thread." But yeah, I would kind of wish I hadn't made it that blue. So
Very nice. Any questions for Susan? But do take a look at the inside of this drawer because that V groove, you could make a series of these V grooves and then make that adjustable, that little divider in there. So that's a really cool
That's a slick
idea
Yeah,
to do it that way.
got that from the Matt Kenny.
Yeah, Matt Kenny did
Yeah,
that.
took-
We did
when I
that in
took
his
box
class. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember
that's where
that.
I got that idea.
All right, well, thank you very much. Any questions for Susan? All right, but do check out her box, the inside of that box there. Come on down. Oh, yeah, don't forget your raffle ticket. All righty. Paul, how are you?
Good.
Grab a microphone.
So this started out with grandkids. We made birdhouses, toolboxes. Then they listened to Nick Offerman's Good Clean Fun. And he described this stool, and he said, "Oh, Pa, you think we could make that?" I said, "Yeah, we can make that." So they did most of the work on this. They're through mortise and tenon, wedge tenons. I would, I was sharing with somebody that I'd make some things a little easier for them to do next time. Maybe make some kind of a guide so they could chisel out that mortise square. But yeah, they did a great job.
How old are they?
The oldest is 14. The youngest is 10.
Okay, so you still grab their attention for a while.
Yeah. We're doing shop classes this summer, once a week. So,
Oh, very nice.
if your grandkids are like mine, they don't do shop in school anymore. So it's up to us to teach them. But this was some air dried walnut that I had from Des Moines, and it just worked out perfect.
Very nice. Now,
And
is this turned or routed?
No.
To make it round.
Yeah, Paul cut it with a jigsaw,
Really?
and then I cleaned it up a little bit with a bandsaw, and then they took rasps and spoke shaves, and no, it's not turned,
Wow.
not
Impressive.
routed. Yeah,
For that age to be able to do that kind of work.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Because
No,
I've
they
always
did a
said
great
I
job.
don't turn. If I tell people if my wood spins, I'm doing something wrong. That is really cool. So did they
And
make
for-
2 of them? One for each of them?
No. There
So-
are 3 of them.
Oh, there are 3 of them? Okay.
If Jim were here, he'd want to know this is Odie's oil.
Odie's Oil. Mhm.
So, yeah.
Good plug for our friend at Odie's Oil. Hello. Hopefully you're watching tonight. Very nice. And walnut, of course.
Walnut.
Okay.
These are hard maple
Hard maple
wedges.
on the wedges. Very nice. So any questions? Yes, Cliff.
Yeah, yeah. I had some pictures, but it didn't work out. But we had a template that they traced them out, and they cut that out with the jigsaw, and then rasps and again a spoke shave. Learning how to use those
I
things.
suck at using a jigsaw. I'm impressed. That's very nice. Any other questions? I thought I saw another hand over here. Nope. All right. Well, thanks, Paul. That's very cool. For the who's next? Don't be shy. Get your asses up here. Did he get his ticket? Okay, good. Oh, clocks, some of my favorite things. I should teach a class on clock making, huh? August 7th and 8th. It's actually a 4-day class. Hi, Steve.
Hey, so yeah, this is just a preview for your upcoming class. I found the plans for this in Wood Magazine from a few years ago. I just did an online search for a mantel clock. And this was the first one I made, and this is out of walnut from my grandparents' farm, a tree that was cut down about 50 years ago.
Wow.
And I've hauled the wood to Minnesota for 40 years, 39 winters actually, and then back to this part of the country, and finally getting around to being able to do something with it.
It's dry by now?
It's dry. It's really dry. And this one, I modified the plan a little bit. In Wood Magazine, they kept it pretty simple. The top mirrors the bottom. I just added the little feet on the bottom there to lift it up a little bit, give it a little bit more dimension. Yeah.
Use that nice little shadow line around
Yeah.
there. So.
The other thing I did differently is in the plans, they would tell you just glue this whole thing up. The only glue I have in this thing so far is the drawer is glued together, and this cross member here is glued to the verticals on either side. Other than that, there really isn't any need for glue in this. Instead, it's all held together with screws, which I know some people would not be particularly excited about, but I like it because after I got it all put together, I took it all apart. Then you can finish it, everything's flat. So you don't have any nooks and crannies that you're dealing with when you're putting the finish on.
Perfect.
And then you put it all back together again, and you can add some glue at that point if you want. I think I did actually add some glue. But I really like being able to take things apart, put them back together again.
That's the same way on this one.
Yeah, now this one's out of cherry and it's not finished yet. This is a wedding present that I need to take to Minnesota in November. A really, really good friend of ours will be receiving this, her and her husband. If anything goes wrong with the marriage, I'm making it clear to Madeline that this stays with her. But this one I'm just going to let percolate through the summer and darken a little bit as much as it will. I'm trying to keep it in sunlight to help naturally darken it a little bit. I don't know that it makes a big difference whether you put a clear finish on it first. It's still going to darken. It may go a little bit faster from what I read, but probably not terribly faster. But I figure, what the heck, I don't need to take it up there until November. So I'm just going to let it sunbathe through the summer and see how dark it gets, and then put a clear finish on it at that point.
Very nice. Show the backs on these, because I think that's, when you pay attention to the back of your woodworking, it's another step in your woodworking, I think.
So this is rare earth magnets. I used just nail heads on the back of the panel here. And then I've got rare earth magnets that are attached to the mechanism. This is the housing that holds the clock mechanism itself, and this whole thing comes out with 2 screws. You can pull the whole thing forward if you ever need to replace the clock mechanism. There's no access from the front. The frame on the front is in there, and that is glued. I did glue that after finishing it. I would say that in challenges, getting this frame to fit perfectly in there, there's no overlap, so everything's inset, including the drawer. That's fussy to get that dialed in so that it's tight enough, especially with the drawer, getting it tight enough that it looks good, but not so tight that when it swells in the humidity that it's not going to open. So that's pretty fussy. I probably spent an afternoon playing around with different ways to glue that frame up. It's very small, and it's got rabbit all the way around the inside for the glass. And I tried masking tape, I tried corner clamps, different things on that. I finally got it, but it was a lot of time spent that I really wanted to do better on this one. And I figured out the best clamp for holding the frame was the clock itself. So I cut the frame pieces, mitered them, got them fit in there, and then used the clock itself to hold them while it glued.
Oh,
so
nice.
The clock itself became
Good
the
idea.
jig.
And I'll show the back of this one, how it's
All right, this one's
different.
got a little secret to getting it open. The drawer in this case is held in with a couple of rare earth magnets in the back there, and then when you turn it around, push the back out, and it's got a couple of roofing nails that have been cut off and put
Nice.
into the back there, and just a little angle bracket I found in my hardware drawer that I put up at the top to...
And so this open box back here, what do you keep in that?
What goes in there?
What goes in there, John?
Well, you don't have to do that anymore, do you? Is it legal? Yeah.
So yeah, I think this, when you do stuff like this to the back, it just makes your woodworking just that much more elevated than just the weekend hacker. So
the other thing that's kind of anal about it is the strip of walnut. I had to get a little of this Missouri walnut into the project, even though it's going to Minnesota.
Yeah, very nice.
And my plywood, plywood is really amazing these days. I mean, that face that they put on the plywood's got to be all of like 0.0001 inches thick.
Yeah.
And so it tends to splinter off there pretty easily. So I put a strip of thin walnut across the bottom there to keep it
to disguise
from,
your tear out.
I had to glue it down in a couple of spots, and I thought, that's just not going to hold up over the years. I mean, you got to change the time at least twice a year until we get off this ridiculous daylight savings time kick. So I thought that's not going to hold up real well.
Very nice. Any questions? Yes. Oh, where in Minnesota?
We lived in Virginia, which is about 30 miles west of Minneapolis.
Okay. So you're nodding like you know where it is.
Well, I grew up in Ridgefield. Oh, sure.
Oh, okay.
Know exactly where that's at.
Cliff? So the clock face, was that
I got
printed
this
or
off of eBay.
bought?
Both of these faces are metal, and
Metal.
this one was a little bit more work because it was round, and so I ended up taking a piece of 1/4 inch MDF, and I used my circle cutter on the drill press and just made a little recess. I didn't want it sitting flush with the face. I wanted it down just a little bit. So I cut around the outside edge with that circle cutter, and then I took a router and took about probably a 1/16 of an inch, maybe a little more than that, out of the rest of the dish there, so to speak, so the face would sit in there. But I got this off eBay. There were 2 of them I got on eBay. It actually came from Victoria, Minnesota, of all places. And then this one is square, so this one goes a lot faster because it's covering the whole space there. So that's just mounted to 1/4-inch birch plywood. And this one I got from Clock Kit, Klockit.
That's where I get my Clockworks for my glass.
Yeah, yeah. So that, the other thing that's nice about these is that it's just so elegantly simple, I think. This piece right here with the cove, that's all one piece of wood. You're not fussing with making miter cuts and trying to get those all dialed in. You just basically
Do your ingrain first, and
yeah. And on this one, I cut before I separated the top and the bottom pieces there that have the cove. It was all one board, so I just routed all the way around on the 4 edges and then sliced it down the middle, and I had my top and bottom.
very nice.
So that worked out pretty well.
Smart woodworking there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. And be sure to grab your ticket from Matt. Who's next? Help him. It's all right. All right. Looking at our director, producer, camera operator, sound man. Yep. Use the green one there.
Thanks.
What's going on?
Thank you, Craig. My name's Gary Holterman. I've been a member here for about 18 months. I got some Eastern Red Cedar, aromatic cedar from my brother. This is air-dried cedar from my dad's farm in Westphalia, Missouri, close to the center of Missouri. So when I got it, it was 5/4 and 6/4. By the time I had it all milled down and got it straight and true and everything, it was 7/8. So that's what I made the chair out of, 7/8 inches thick. There's a couple challenges I had with it. The first one was getting these screws into the back correctly, because you had a 30-degree angle, the back slats. Plus, when you're fastening the first one in the center, this is all pretty flimsy. It's really hard to hold everything straight and keep it nice and straight while you're doing your drilling. So that was another thing that made it harder. One interesting thing about this, the rear back slat is cut from the same as the waist from cutting the upper rear cross piece. So that's part of that plan. The plans came from Popular Woodworking. It's a Norm Abram design. I put a link in the Guild website in the Facebook page if you want to see where the plans are. Finished with Watco Danish oil natural. It did make it quite a bit darker, but the color is still true to the original, so I'm not disappointed with that. Another thing that was a little bit challenged for me, I decided to cut plugs out of the same material. Well, cedar is so soft, it was a little bit of a challenge, but once I got my RPM adjusted correctly in the drill press to 1250, then it went well.
Very nice. And then and that's a tapered plug?
Yes.
Just glue it in and flush it trim.
Yes, that's
or
right.
Trim it flush, rather.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And stainless steel hardware?
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be outside, so I decided to go with stainless steel carriage bolts. And these are square head screws. They're all hidden, of course, but under the plugs are all stainless steel square head screws.
Very nice. So, any questions? All right.
Very good.
Is it comfortable?
Good chair to drink beer in.
Oh, well, there we go. All right.
All right,
Any
thank
other
you.
questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Okay, David Roth actually has 2 items to show. One is a stand, because he's been asked about that a couple times tonight, and the other was the other thing he's doing here.
All right, so if you want to talk about the stand, we can, since we're all standing up, right? Okay. Try the veal. We're here all week. Anyway, the stand is just for, like, if you're hanging this on a wall or something like that. I made this, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. So when I bring an intarsia piece or a marquetry piece, I can just hang it up. That's all that is, a stand. This here's an intarsia piece. It's a design from Ken Bennett. He passed away in October. He used to sell his plans on Etsy. And anyway, we did this a couple weeks ago in the June Skill Builder that we had here at the Guild. And the types of wood used were padauk, poplar, walnut, and cherry. And the finish on it is shellac, satin finish varnish, which is Old Masters, which I believe is at Rockler. And then a Indian sand red wax for the darker woods and a clear wax for the white woods. Any questions?
So how many pieces are in this?
68.
60. Is that all? It looks
Yep.
like there's more.
Nope.
About how many hours did it take to cut all?
About
shape it.
To plan it, shape it, cut it, finish it, glue it, about 40 hours. We're getting quicker and faster.
Yeah.
It used to take about an hour a piece. If you watch we have a YouTube video in the Skill Builder, and I show you how I do it, how I got the equipment set up, and how you can do it quicker and faster. So the time is being cut down a lot quicker now.
Very nice. That's cool. Any questions? I'm sure there's got to be questions on this.
If you do have any questions, come see me in the back. How's that?
So I do have one. How
Yes, sir.
many paper patterns do you start with?
I have 3. One's my master copy that I'm looking at. One's I'm planning, and I cut out with, and the other one is where I lay all my pieces on.
Okay.
So yeah, there's 3 copies. So if I want to make it again, I just took it to UPS store and made 2 copies and taped them up together. So you don't have to you can go to a blueprint company. There's Drexel's or someplace near Woodcraft. So if you want to get large patterns.
Down here at on Southwest.
Southwest Boulevard. So there's plenty of places to do it, Staples and all that. So, yes, sir.
Anybody with a large format printer should be able to.
And I guess you could take a file and put it through the laser machine too
you
sometime.
could.
I don't know. We'll have to try that out.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that would be the next thing is the CNC machine will start doing this kind of work then.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, David.
Wood didn't cost anything.
Yeah. The best wood, free wood, right? And here, can you grab his ticket there? Who's next? John, come on up. Who's after John? All right. No, sorry, we won't make 8 o'clock, maybe. All right, Middle Earth. And this was done with a wood burner, right? Oh. Yeah, pyography.
No, this was done yesterday.
Oh, this is
on
John
the laser.
Lundy. So, hi, John.
Yeah, this was done yesterday on the laser.
And this is solid wood too. It's not plywood.
No, it's some ash I had, milled up to 1/4 inch, and just laying around. And I had nothing to do yesterday, so I did this.
Very nice.
Don't make a hobbit of it.
The comment from the audience was, "Don't make a hobbit of it." You may leave now. Jeez. And then lay it flat here, and he'll get a shot from up above.
Yeah, this is offset engraving. Gives a different texture.
And what do you mean by that?
It makes a line,
Mm-hmm.
and then it makes another line next to it, depending on what your settings are.
Okay. So can
actually-
you adjust the width of that line, the distance between each line it lays down? Okay.
This is at 100 lines per inch. Took about 2.5 hours.
And
A lot longer
where'd you
than
get the
estimate.
file? Did you scan something, or did you find an
No,
electronic
just something
file?
I found online.
Oh, very
I'm not
nice. Okay.
completely happy with the map the way it is, but it was the best file I could find.
Yeah, because I think this city's actually closer to the west over here. So. Very cool. And are you going to put a finish on it, or just leave it raw wood?
I'm planning on putting a finish on. I'm not quite sure what yet. Then I put some hardware on the back so I could hang it.
Okay. And are you a Middle Earth liker?
Oh yeah. Since I was a kid, I.
Yeah, I read all those books too. Watched the movies. So. All right. Any questions for John? We will be having mead. Okay. That's very cool. Thanks, John. All right. Who's next? John. Be sure you get your ticket there, John. We're getting those tables filled again. It's back pre-COVID days. We used to have big turnouts like this for show and tell. So this is cool. Bainey missed out. Hi, Cal.
Another
Dixon.
Cal.
Yeah.
Mine's not as fancy as everybody else's.
I'll hold this while you set that up. It looks complicated. May not be fancy, but oh, now look at that. Very cool. The people will marvel.
No, I didn't use the laser cutter or CNC or anything else on it. I got the plans off of Pinterest. This is just 1x6 pine from Menards that has the brown beetle kill, what they call it, or blue stain in it. I read that they changed it from beetle kill to blue stain because the people weren't buying it because they called it beetle kill. But if you go to Menards, you can buy that wood easy. You got to search for it though.
Well, that's like ambrosia maple, you know, because the bug goes in and eats and craps in there, and the sap goes up and comes down. That's what creates that. And for some reason, ambrosia maple sells a lot better than bug shit maple. So
yeah. The only dilemma I have is the webbing back here. I don't want to change it. The way they have it is they have it crisscrossed in there to make it work, and I haven't figured that out yet.
So is it comfortable?
If your back is just right, those boards will hit you in the middle of the back, but it is comfortable.
So those of us who have not missed many meals wouldn't be too comfortable in that.
Yeah, I plan on making another one out of ash.
Okay.
Make it a little heavier. These are just, I took the 1x6 and split them in half to make the legs on it.
Very cool. And it's highly portable.
Yes, yes. It's Pinterest called it a Civil War camp chair. That's what they called it.
Okay.
And I imagine the Civil War they used hemp rope for the webbing in the back.
Yeah, that's just what, paracord.
Paracord,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Very cool. Any questions?
How do you get Menards 1x6s that straight?
Yeah, how do you get Menards 1x6s this
It
straight?
takes time.
I'm sure our sponsors may have straighter lumber. So right? Mr. Rockler over there? All right, anyone else? Is that it? All right, my work here is done. So all of you who did show something, you'll get that little blue ticket. After the raffle, if you bought raffle tickets, the last one they'll sing out will be the one that Matt has here. So, and then it's a $25 current American cash. Fantastic. All right, turn it back over to Cal, and I think he'll turn us loose for a break.
I just want to say thank you for all of you who brought projects. Really, really cool. This is my favorite part of our meetings, to see what you all are working on. So I appreciate it, and great job, everyone. So now's the time for our break. We'll do about an 8-minute break, and we'll come back and have our program from Urban Lumber. So see you in a few.
Hi, my name is Mike Jones, and welcome to another episode of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Today's video will introduce you to the safety rules and requirements of the Powermatic hollow chisel mortiser. Keep in mind that, like all safety videos, this video only covers the safety concerns of this machine and is not a complete training program for the use of this equipment. When in the shop, please direct any questions about using this or other machines to the on-duty shop foreman. He or she is there to act as your main resource in helping you to keep safe and provide advice in assisting you to successfully complete your project. Always remember, the most important of safety concerns is to wear approved safety glasses with side shields at all times while in the KCWG shop. Your regular glasses are not approved for use when participating in any shop activity while you are at the guild. Hollow chisel mortisers are used to cut square or rectangular holes in wood, generally for the mortise side of a mortise and tenon joint. The hollow chisel mortiser is equipped with a square chisel with a rotating auger bit within the chisel that serves to remove large amounts of material while the chisel cuts a square or rectangular hole, leaving the square corners and smooth walls of the mortise. Hollow chisel mortisers are similar to a drill press in that the mortiser combines the square chisel with the rotating drill bit in the center. The bit inside the chisel clears out most of the material while the chisel ensures that the hole is clean, square, and smooth inside. When using the hollow chisel mortiser, one must first install the proper size chisel. The Kansas City Woodworkers Guild has a selection of mortising chisels sized from 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch. The mounting of the chisel and bit requires that you mount the chisel into the collet while inserting the bit shank into the chuck. The chuck is identical to one used in a drill press. It is best to use a piece of scrap stock to hold the chisel and bit in place while you tighten the chuck with the available chuck key. Once the bit is securely mounted in the chuck, you then loosen the collet, holding the chisel, and raise the chisel about 1/16 of an inch, and then retighten the collet screw. It is recommended that you then turn the chuck by hand one complete turn to ensure that nothing is binding. There are stop screws that allow you to set limits on the side-to-side and front-to-back travel of the bed. If you're not familiar with the setup procedure, please ask the foreman on duty to help you with this procedure. It's very important to remember to have your stock securely clamped into position before turning on the machine and cutting your mortises. When cutting through mortises, please be sure to have a piece of sacrifice material under your work so that you don't risk cutting into the machine bed. Another important thing to remember when using the hollow chisel mortiser is at the position of the waste port on the chisel. You will want to mount the chisel so that the waste port is leaving the waste behind in the previously cut hole. This helps to allow the waste material to not build up inside the chisel and generate friction heat, which will dull the chisel and the bit prematurely. Please ask the shop foreman for assistance if you're not sure how to set this up. It is also a really good idea to check the chisel and bit for sharpness before you start. A dull chisel can make things a lot more difficult and affect the quality of your mortise. Please ask the foreman to help you with sharpening the chisel if you're not familiar with how to do it. When you start the machine, be sure to never touch the chisel with the bit spinning. You should never allow your hands or fingers to be closer than 3 inches from the chisel when cutting your mortise. The auger is exposed on the side of the chisel where the waste port is located and can cause severe injury should you touch it. Remember, when cutting your mortises, the bit and chisel, ideally, should be fully engaged. Cut your first hole, then move the bed about 2/3 the size of the next hole to make the next cut. This puts less strain on the bit and eliminates the deflection of the chisel and bit and the high level of heat that can be generated by the deflection. Following this procedure will produce a cleaner cut and more professional looking results. Also, never try to hand hold the piece you're cutting. Your stock should be firmly clamped in the machine before you turn the mortiser on. Remember, the successful use of the hollow chisel mortiser is very dependent upon a good setup, especially when performing several repeat cuts on table or chair legs. When you're finished, you should take a few moments to check your work area, clean up the machine and the floor around where you've been working. This is Mike Jones. Thanks for watching.
All right. All right, drawing numbers. For the frame clamp set, last three numbers, 609. Speed bore set, last three numbers, 617. The magnetic parts holder, the last three numbers, 686. 1, 2, 3 block, last three numbers, 572. Shop notes DVD, the last three numbers, 670. Dowel jig, last three numbers, 645. Laser level, the last three numbers, 639. And that's it for the raffle table. For the ticket for the show, the show and tell, the last three numbers are the blue ticket is 439. Come on up and grab your stuff and.
All right, everybody, as you're going back, getting your winnings, we're getting ready to get started again. One quick announcement. If you're driving a red Ford pickup that's over by the dumpster, you may be blocking someone, so we request you maybe go move that. I don't know who that is, but if you could go move that. Is that yours? So yeah, somebody over there needs to leave, so I appreciate that. So yeah, everyone work their way to the seats. If you're talking, wrap it up. So I always love to see our presenters. We appreciate them coming. I have known a bit about Urban Lumber just from seeing them online. I follow you on Instagram. It's one of those places I've always meant to go to your place. So I'm really looking forward to you, Tim. Thank you for coming, and we'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you guys for having me out tonight. I am glad to be here. This is actually my fourth time speaking at the Woodworkers Guild. I think the first time was in 2006 or 7 or 8. I don't really remember, but it was in the basement of the church. I was here again in 2013 when we were moving into our current building, which was sort of the genesis of the birth of the Urban Lumber Company that you guys would mostly know. The previous version was very clandestine in the 4th floor of a shop on the West Bottoms, and before that in my garage. Very much how Apple got started, so I feel like we're in good pace that we'll be equally successful. But we have been out at 40 for 10 years, and I think I was invited out that summer to sort of explain what our operation would be like. I was here in 2017, And I was told that I was too long-winded by my colleague Tony, who was in the audience, and so I will try to behave tonight and not be overly verbose about things that maybe nobody cares about. I guess I'll pull up my slideshow and introduce the idea of the Urban Lumber Company. Is really, it's about waste stream trees, and I guess I wanted to start a company that would be a place I wanted to shop at. I guess there was voids in what I was getting from commercial retail outlets in town, wood-wise, and also there really was no place to get custom woodworking done. Like, you can go to machine shops and get gears turned down and such, but you really can't run across town and get something planed. Of course, if you're a guild member, that's an easy go-to, but where I was and over in Independence, there wasn't even, you know, general wood services available. And of course, I had been sawing city trees for 10 or 15 years and drying them for my own personal projects. Well, I guess I started sawing in 2001, but I started doing custom work with them right away. And then by 2005, I started the company, and that's when it was super garage business. I partnered with Missouri Organic in 2013, and they rented the big building down the hill from them. I do have two silent partners. They'll come down when we get the forklift stuck. I see them about twice a year. They're great guys, but they're so very busy doing, we get the forklift stuck more than twice a year for sure. But they're very busy doing their own thing, so they are truly silent partners, and it's alarmingly uncomfortable to have them say, just do what you want to do, because there's nobody backing me up. We have a good team, guys that I work with. Tony and Ray I've been buddies with for a long while, and we all know how each other thinks. And there's a couple younger guys working with us now too, which is also very nice. I guess what I wanted to characterize was the nature of what the Urban Lumber Company space is. It's city trees, waste stream trees specifically. These beautiful, we got a terrific canopy in Kansas City. Everybody knows that. It's an amazing, like ridiculously amazing resource. If you drive to Colorado, they got mountains, but man, they don't have hardwoods. You go to Florida, it's interesting. It's a little different, but there's not the same. Our canopy is really the key, and it seems absurd to me that we would ship lumber anywhere because of what's around us. And so, and also that's kind of a novel concept, which is super weird too. It should be like our default action is to use the trees around us. You tell your great-great-grandpa about this cool place that's got a sawmill and they're taking local trees and turning them into lumber. They'd tell you were nuts. That's just the way things should go, I think. And so anyway, we have this awesome canopy. It's a terrific resource for us, and that's what we want to be able to provide is whether you're a homeowner or you're an active woodworker like people in the room tonight, a place where you can come in, find local trees, and make things for your home out of it. And it's simple as that. We'll help along the way. Some people know exactly what they're doing and take rough lumber and go. Other people just want something cool for over there in the corner, and we can turn out a finished thing within the whole experience for those people. So we try to meet everybody where they're coming from. This is the only statistic tonight. Urban trees account for about 250 million trees in the contiguous U.S. I'm sorry, 74 billion. I got a glare in mine. 74 billion trees in the contiguous U.S., and that's about equal to a quarter is grown in the cities. Or a quarter of the commercial timberland is growing in the cities and being unused, and so it's a terrific resource across the country. And of course, also you're seeing urban lumber outfits pop up everywhere. I would love to say that I invented urban sawing. However, I'm sure people in this room have been doing it longer than me too. But certainly it's been done, you know, for as long as people have been around. And so, but the idea of making it available and kind of calling it out as urban lumber was something that has taken root across the country. It's a groundswell movement, urban wood. There's an urban wood movement, like an actual organization that we're a member of. And it makes sense for a lot of reasons. And so we've kind of dedicated our charter to just getting cool wood in front of people, and hopefully we can hook them up. To that end, I'm going to show just a rambling smattering of photos and kind of narrate a great example of urban wood. This is the Bingham Wagner Estate in Independence, and it was a huge walnut that fell about a year ago. And we do not do removals. We don't cut anything down, but I do keep one climber, part-time guy. He sharpens for us and moves stuff around in the yard and does work, you know, everything for us, John Ford. And in this case, we don't remove trees. This one wasn't coming back. It wasn't going to tilt back up, and so John and I monkeyed around. He climbed. I just stayed on the ground and drug brush around. But he got that all bucked out, and we ended up getting like a 18-foot, 40-inch diameter walnut. You know, I had a full day, 2 guys, big toe bill, But man, nice not to see that go to waste. We finally sawed it this week, and I have photos later on. So that's the type of thing that I'm interested in getting. You know, there was where nobody else wanted it. It didn't really have a market value, but I can turn it into something and make those beautiful slabs from a historic estate available to people for a big conference table or for their home or for whatever they need. The sycamore that's down on the left, on the right, is the jail. They're putting the Jackson County Detention Center just down the road from us on Highway 40. They were just clearing the land. Somehow we got in, and I grabbed 30 to 40 trees off of that property. Of course, it was a very quick haul. We used dumpsters in that case, so we set up dumpsters like recycling bins. We were down there on the ground bucking out the logs. The excavator pushed them over. They bucketed them into the dumpsters for us. KC Dumpster Company, who conveniently parks their dumpsters behind our building, brought them right up. It was a nice deal. I had 4K, 5K in, not even that much. I think it was like 3K in dumpster hauling. And, you know, I don't know how many, 40 plus big, and some of them are great big. So very little walnut, but still treasures. Just as many wins as there are. I mean, I get calls every day for people telling me about the tree, and I love that because that's what I'm about, right? But I can't deal with all of it. So like pin oaks, that's a huge bummer in our canopy because red oak is, by some people's standards, out. I have red oak sitting on my shelves for years that I cannot sell. Seems weird to me. It's a fine hardwood, we all know that, but I get it. Honey-colored cabinets from the 80s and 90s, okay. But red oak just doesn't move, and that's what the pin oaks are. So pin oaks, 52% of the city's canopy, nobody wants it. That's a super bummer. So we all got to be creative and think about what we can do with the big pin oaks that are coming down in Mission Hills and Fairway that are all timing out, because that's a huge volume of solid mass that's got to go somewhere. Of course, the ashes, emerald ash borer is a real problem. We're getting as many ash logs as we can. It's always getting logs has never been the problem for us. It's turning them away that's the hardest part for me. The other slide up here on the left, and it's really hard to appreciate the scale of this. This is off Independence Avenue, kind of I wouldn't say a rough neighborhood, but the houses weren't really painted well, if you know what I'm saying. People seemed fine. It just nothing was kept up. This was at the top of a hill behind, no way to get to it without a crane. But that walnut diameter is over 60 inches. It's the biggest one I've ever seen in my life. And it was just, it would have been a, $10,000, $5,000 crane. So sometimes they don't work, right? And it's hard to pick and choose the battles. But I do get as many trees as I can. And what we do with them, we'll saw them up. We've got some sweet gum slabs. Sweet gum, tree that's universally despised but actually makes terrific lumber. I'll show you some more examples of that. We sell a lot of sweet gum because it's really interesting. It's got a good story. It's got a lot of character to it. And then we make stuff. And so this is the transition. These are not the same boards by any means, but you can see, okay, now I get, and for you guys all know about woodworking, but the average homeowner comes in and it's really fuzzy. And so we try to illustrate along the way. We use photos, half-done projects, the whole thing. But this could be in your basement, and that's a terrific thing to be able to take a tree that nobody wanted in the city and with very few moves, some serious kung fu, get it into somebody's basement as a bar that they're super happy with. That's kind of a fun hit on many levels, and that's what we try to do. But fundamentally, it is all about wood grain, and that's kind of what we're selling is the beauty of wood and, of course, the diversity of our local canopy, as I alluded to earlier. Hickory, pecan, ailanthus, ash, all the maples, all the oak, it all comes together. We even get oddball species periodically. I've had redbud, black locust, persimmon, anything you could find, I kind of hunt for it. I got a holly in last week, and I feel bad because, listen, I was. Now, what's the biggest holly anybody's ever seen? About 16 inches, maybe? Oh yeah, well, not that big. 25 inches though, measured 25 at the butt. And I kind of felt, I feel bad when they all come down, but that one almost had to have been some sort of a champion or at least a regional record. I've never ever seen a holly that big. So stay tuned because I'm sure there'll be more information on that coming up. This is black locust or a honey locust background and a crazy, bizarre maple top. We got both kinds. We got super tasteful classic wood, and then we got stuff that should hit the burn pile. And when we first opened, we're only going to show the nice stuff. But everybody wants different things, and so often people go towards the stuff that I wouldn't look twice at, and they're super excited about it. And you know, we've gotten pretty good at working with dodgy pieces of wood, stiffening, all sorts of things like that. We don't really deal with river tables or too much epoxy, but I do use a lot of epoxy for crack fill. I'm a wood guy, I like wood. So I try to avoid, you know, elaborate epoxy work, but I will also say that without the beauty, or without the epoxy, we would have not been able to salvage nearly as many trees, because a smallest defect and now it's no longer functional for a kitchen table. Wood fill just never looks right. And so black epoxy, we always stick with black, I think goes away, is kind of handsome, takes the natural form of the void, and does a job of making something not catch Cheerios or milk. And so it's a nice, I am pleased enough to use epoxy, but I really don't like any of the epoxy business personally. Not that I haven't seen cool things done, it's just, I don't like messing with it really. So both kinds of wood, good and we'd also try to price things. If it's really stunning and stellar, it's gonna get a little more money. If it's only so-so, we bring it down. And if it's super dodgy and checked, you'll probably get a good deal on it. Our goal is not to be elite. We are trying to move wood. We like to pay the rent and keep the lights on the whole bit. Everybody wants to, you know, living wage. But we are really more interested in volume, kicking wood out. And so we're starting different specials. We recently updated our website. I don't know, we're trying to do the best we can with our marketing. Bald cypress, hackberry. These are just in-house designs and stuff that we do pretty much every day. People always ask, what are you going to do when live edge goes out of style? Man, I'll cut that edge right off. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's a board. It's wonderful material. You could cut it up. You can glue it back together. You can turn it, whatever. I also don't turn, Craig. I'm a thrower. And so I have 3 lathes, and I keep trying. But it's nothing I talk about. I do CNC, so there's that. This is sycamore, and it's a stunning piece of a wood that normally people wouldn't think twice about just chunking up and putting in the landfill. It does have its quirks, but obviously, you know, you guys probably know, worked a lot with sycamore, but some of it can be completely stunning. The quarter sawn figure in sycamore is almost unparalleled. You get great spalting, everything. Local species that just can be completely expressive if used correctly. Recent work that we've been doing, this is just stuff that was very recent in my camera roll. That big bar top is a elm glue up that's probably, it's not 7 by 8, but it's in that zone, ridiculously big with a sinkhole. We do that stuff pretty regularly, not that big square of a format, which is a super pain, but we do glue ups like that all the time for people. In this case, fully finished. A lot of times we're just doing the glue ups in the wide belt, getting people down the road with our bigger tools. Pro shops actually bring work to us to surface, not all the time, but regularly, because we can do it pretty fast and pretty efficiently. The other table is a game table, and this is kind of how I like to work with people. Ryan, his name's Ryan Collins. I think he's a guild member because he got the guild discount. So he better, he asked for the discount. He's in periodically, so you should, anyway, sycamore, or sweet gum, another, you know, crazy expressive sweet gum boards. And he wanted to make a game table. I think he found the base on a curb and dialed it in himself, which was he did a pretty good job. But he wanted the table to come apart so that him and his spouse can play games on the table and then still put it back together and eat dinner. Wasn't a big deal, a little bit, you know, all right, we'll cut it in half. But it was fun because we get to do custom things and kind of work with people. You know, a lot of places would, you know, well, I don't know about that base, et cetera, et cetera. So we do what we can to get people exactly what they want. We try to make nice stuff. Everybody, you don't know how that goes. You do the best you can. Those benches are at the Kansas City Museum. They're trees. We sawed and dried the lumber, and I don't know, 6 or 7 of them around the estate, walnut and sycamore. Just a real nice walnut table in a private residence. And the lower photo of the dining room table is that guy's wood. I believe we sawed it. I know we made the table, but he's a photographer, so I got good assets on that one versus my phone shots. But those are pretty common routine things that we do. All wood bases, not super common. I'll do them when I can. I like doing them. That's a nice ash and the center tilts down, and then that's a trunk. Yes, that's a trunk on a steel plate. It's kind of fun. You got a whole, I have 300 logs in my backyard that we cut up and do creative things with. Got to find the right people. Not everybody's up for the big stump in the living room or the dining room, but It was fun to make, and they seemed elated with it, and it was very stable, which I was really nervous about because there's no popular mechanics on how to use a big hackberry stump as a base. And it worked. I used the big GRK screws in the top of the plate, countersunken, in the bottom of the plate, countersunken. It was super solid and easy. It was pretty easy to do, actually. It was heavy. The little bar for the World War I Museum and their new open storage. They had a renovation that just opened about a couple months ago, and all their storage items are now behind glass that J.E. Dunn skillfully built in-house and put on display. And so they have you can go in the basement of the World War I and see all their storage through glass. It's really neat. They have kind of a lab set up, and nobody made a table, so there was a void. So we made a table to try and match the rest of the space. And then we made a solid red oak base for a sculpture. These are just kind of opposite ends of the world style projects, but we're up for anything. And that was the lady's grandpa that sculpted or that cast that bronze. And so we made a solid, we chunked a big red oak up and then made a solid end grain red oak, knowing full well it would split or it might do weird things. She was on top of all that. And it has, but it still looks really interesting. Public service announcement. Does everybody probably has, Steve probably knows what the Chinese elm is versus a regular elm. Elm is one of those things I could talk for the whole event about, but I will try and keep it brief. I believe this is a Siberian or a red elm table, but everybody comes in and says, oh, I like that Chinese elm. Well, Chinese elm is a lace bark, and it's got a totally different bark. It's just a funny little elm thing, but good opportunity to see what Chinese elm bark actually looks like. That's a photo from the Missouri Botanical Garden. That's the end of the PSA. But we do a lot with elm. Elm is an underrated wood. It's all over the city, and I'm trying to push the heck out of it because, I don't know, I feel like it's very appealing for a lot of reasons. It smells great to work also. I don't know that one. Kentucky coffee tree. This is another great example. We make something kind of in a bubble, a beautiful bookshelf, and I love it when people get to live with their products. So this is with that bookshelf installed in that guy's house. You can't even see the bookshelf. But man, the heavy duty was the criteria, and so that was important. And anyway, Kentucky coffee tree, oddball species, but I love his installation because obviously those are all personal artifacts, and so to be able to make something really cool and have somebody put their memories kind of on display there that's a neat thing. Same idea of making tables. You know, you make something that people get to sit down and break bread at and have memories. That's not a bad way to take a local resource and kung fu it into a final outcome for their meals and their memories. This is sweet gum, again, with a super fancy base. We do make metal bases. We do a lot of square tube metal bases, rectangular tube, whatever, custom designs, everything's custom. Turns out it's much easier to sell tables if you make bases as well. That was about year 2, I realized. Nobody said I was a businessman at all. So we kind of interviewed around, well, anyway, long story short, we ended up with a good shop in the West Bottoms, Machine Head, and I was working with their designer a lot, kind of going back and forth. Anyway, I married her. So Amy is our she's a sculptor, and I got some pictures of her cool stuff later, but it was a very legitimate professional meeting, and then it kind of dwindled. I do. We barter, actually. That's a sweet gum, and she made a very fancy base, and it's all tapered. In this case, it's all tapered, and it was, like, oh, we need it by next weekend, and all the tapered sweet gum had to wedge into the bottom, and you do anything for your wife, right? Anyway, it came out okay. It's not a bad table. For sale, should you be interested. Kind of wanted to touch on custom sawing, as I believe that if you don't have experience with it, it's like anybody could demystify it. I'm happy to, but it's a blast and it's very addictive. Tow trucks, big picture, you find a log that you want to get sawn, tow trucks will move a log. That's that huge white oak that was in the news several months ago. That's 12,000-pound log that brought in on a tow truck, maybe more. We could do custom sawing for you. A lot of places can do custom sawing. We can sell you stickers, talk to you about how to dry it, best practices, etc. What I would convey is not who you use to custom saw as much as that you just do it, because you have your own pile of wood. Your creativity opens way up. You can design things based on wood that you actually have versus designing in a bubble and hoping you find an interesting raw material that correlates with it. You feel very free to try things that you wouldn't normally try, because if you blow a piece, man, you got your whole pile. It's totally cool. So you go get another piece, nobody need to know about nothing. And so I can't say enough things about having your own pile of wood to work from, and I guarantee you it's absolutely, for probably the people in this room, the way to go. So seek it out. Yes?
So how many board feet came out of that log?
It's still sitting there. I'll have to keep you posted. It was pretty controversial. I had to get removed because they're putting a water retention pond in. You know, man, nobody likes to see them come down. It's a wheel. It's probably 200 years old, so it was a bummer of a, but you know what, that stuff goes on all the time. Making use of it, not making use of it would be the real crime. Anyway, but I surely, of all of our, also I don't really do social media stuff. We've been having to pay for it, so if you guys have seen me on social things, I'm sorry. It's not really my native language, but I do like business, as I said, so getting people to come in the door is not bad. To that end, we had a post about this log, and boy, did it get a lot of feedback. Stuff I was not equipped to deal with. So, you know, like I said, a lot of people just comment, but there is I don't know, 2,500, 3,500 board foot, easy. There's some voids in it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We're going to quarter it up with a chainsaw before we do anything with it.
And can you quarter saw that?
Some of it will be quarter sawn in general terms. You know, on a band mill, you can't quarter saw, you know, we're talking about the log, the pith. This section in here is the quarter sawn section. You can't necessarily get to that exclusively without super extraneous methods, or even if you could, jigs and whatnot. So we will get 30% quarter sawn just by going through and through it, but that log will get quartered with a chainsaw and then forked individual sections on, and then get sawn, getting as much figure as we can, ripped and quartered as much as possible.
Very nice.
Yeah, stay tuned on that one. But we can saw anything.
What's your capacity?
52-inch outside by 18 feet, 32-inch inside by 18 feet. And so we do end up having to chain quite a bit. These were two ginormous sycamores that were brought in for a guy, and both of them, you know, monster. Carlos, whose name I can't recall right now, Tree Service, General Tree, he brought these in, and I think his bill was $1,000. It wasn't terrific. You know, I always give the equation: if you come in with a 20-inch log, you're going to do fine. If it's a 10-inch log, you're not going to do fine. Over 20, you're always about at $1 a board foot, plus or minus. You're only at the $2 or $3 a board foot if it's a rinky-dink log. The bigger the log, the more your bill is going to be, but you're going to get a board foot that correlates, so your price is still going to be low. The price I just outlined does not cover transpo. So if you can get a trailer, that's great, but tow truck, you're going to bill in a couple $100 for that. And then you're going to have to trailer it back home because it's going to weigh. That's the other surprise, is nobody realizes that it weighs about the same going out as it does coming in. Weigh the sawdust. Yeah, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy. I covered just briefly drying, because drying is one of the things that I've learned is almost the most important thing in processing wood. You know, all of it's important, but dry lumber's super duper important. We will yard dry for a year to a year and a half, 2 years if it's, you know, a denser species and really thick. We'll wait till it's 20 to 30%, and then we'll put it in the kiln only then. And the free water's mostly gone out, so the posture's pretty much set. We try to weight everything down as much as possible, but inherently, you know, sycamore and elms want to boogie around. White oak and walnut generally does pretty good and lays flat, but you know, every tree is different, and that's kind of fun about it. So a lot of time outside yard drying relaxes the posture. Then we throw it in the kiln, and the kiln process is very slow, and it culminates, heat temperature rises, and it culminates with the pest cycle. So you can feel pretty good about like sending boards down to somebody's house without hearing a call about bugs coming out, which is a big deal. But when I was using wood for myself, I did not actually use a kiln. You can kind of keep your eye on frath, or if you see critters, and you might need to spot treat, and you could create a heat chamber just to do a pest cycle. So I wouldn't want to say that it's exclusively important that you have to have the pest cycle in kiln drying wood. It is if you're selling wood. If you're just making stuff for yourself, you probably don't even need to worry about it. You just keep your eye on your pile, and you can topically treat things as well. This would be like a boule stack. I think boule is a little pretentious of a word. That would be the exploded log view, which I like very much. So we always call it just an exploded log, and you can stack lumber like that and band it back together. And then this is how we typically do it with just a bricked pile. If you have a bunch of wood from a log, it may make sense to make a brick pile. Dead level base, spacers in between, stickers, usually white oak. We use PVC in the last two photos. You saw PVC, but after the pandemic, the price of PVC went crazy, so now we're using white oak again. And then weight on the top to keep the movement from changing around too much. And this is sort of a weird Pan Am of our yard, but we have about 30 piles that we rotate. And then we have two kilns. This is only one view. This is the back kind of the newest kiln. It's the newest kiln body. It's an old kiln unit that we put swing doors so we can load with a fork. Loading the kiln with a forklift is a gift. If you've had to hand load kilns as part of your day job for the last 10 years, you love the big swing doors. So we're drying quite a bit of lumber. Check this out as far as good deal. The thing I love about woodworkers, woodworkers love good deals. They love doing stuff on their own and they like good deals. This is a free trailer of stickers. That's all white oak. There's over 50,000 stickers that were sitting just kind of going to rot, and I got a call on it. I'm sure nothing's free, right? So I'm gonna owe somebody something. But we picked those up, and those are all white oak stickers that we're making available for drying lumber at $1.25. I did have some transportation costs, and I am babysitting, but that's still pretty reasonable. And they're sealed ends, and so these are for sale. Random cool things around the showroom. We're going to start selling logs, actual whole log kits at 30% off. If you buy the whole log, you can get 30%. Buy all the boards out of that log. Like this is a whole log of hickory, not arranged properly, but if you bought all those, you get 30% off the entire value of the individual boards.
Will that apply to that holly log too?
I don't know. I have to see how the holly unfolds. I've actually got some holly, and so I'm super excited about this one. This is the view of the showroom. If you were to walk in, you'd be welcome, number one. Wood Guild, 10% off wood, not services. And we have a pretty good scrap pile, although it did just get shoved up. Scrap piles, $9 a piece. I don't ever want to hear about it again. But projects waiting to get picked up front, and then racks you just walk around, and there's a bunch of racks outside. Big, huge hackberry slabs. I think those are $300-400 a piece, but they're really big and 9/4 with a big crotch figure and some good color. A whole rack of Ailanthus, tree of heaven. That's that invasive species that everybody's trying to eradicate. Turns out it makes really interesting lumber. It's hard and lightweight, and so we've got a bunch of it on display, and I love working with it. It's the blondest wood around. Tree of heaven, Ailanthus. I've got one last bird's eye elm slab that is super awesome, and it's got these big crazy thorns on the side, which are not like super hard, but super fun. So that's the last one of those. This is that first walnut that I said I'd show you sawing up later. This is it on the back mill. I think we're over 40 at the one end width, at the biggest. I think Tony cut it 12/4, and I think it's 12, 13, 14 foot long. I don't know how much they weigh. Nobody's stacked it yet. Nobody's jumping up to stack it, even with the forklift. I don't know. And so more complete exploded logs, and that whole canopied rack, which we put in 2018 or 19, is just loaded with dry lumber. So we're in a good spot to move volumes of wood. Again, we're not trying to, we want that balance between keeping the lights on and getting the wood out the doors. It's a funny balance. And I could tell you we're threading it because I'm still driving a crappy truck. Okay, so a little shameless self-promotion. I hope I can see I'm rambling on, but also I like talking about this stuff, and so I'm trying to find a good pace. And also I wanted to plug my own, like my day job wasn't busy enough. I already said I married Amy. She's a sculptor. Well, I talked her into buying a building in Independence, and so we live in a 17,000 square foot concrete bunker where they used to make bow and arrows, the old Woodcraft York's bow and arrow factory in Independence. It's super cool. I can't believe she went for it, honestly. So we've got 3 floors, two main floors, and an upper loft, which we'll never ever get to because I can't even get the apartment we're living in bath cabinets done. But we live in this building. We got a little apartment carved out in the back. And the basement, I set up a wood shop, and I'm trying to rent out spaces. Now, it's not like the Wood Guild where everybody can have a membership and come in. Number one, you guys are doing great. This is an amazing facility as it is. This is more for the transitional from, I quit my day job and I'm working in my garage, but I can't afford my own building with my own sign and all the big tools. And so 4 or 5 people could rent a quadrant of this basement and grow their small business from cutting boards or whatever you're making in your garage, you know, starting to do custom work. I did this at a different place, and it totally blossomed in my career, but more than that, it blossomed my knowledge, because I'm working with other guys that were taking it really seriously, and you're not just learning craft and skill, you're learning the business side, how to be super duper efficient, where the best places to go to get stuff done is, how to do it better, faster. So more production oriented, more of a sheet goods shop. The lumber company, we don't have we don't do any sheet goods at all. It's just solid lumber all the time, which is super cool. But it's nice to be able to bust up sheets when you need to. So this space is, it's got a spray booth. I set up a whole big wood shop in the basement, and it's a nice wood shop. I kind of got a thing for old iron. Some of you guys probably do too. I wouldn't say they're all flawless, none of them are, but it's a good shop, good dust. And so I'm trying to rent spaces, so if you know of anybody, let me know, or pass them on to 1450studios.com, and it's close to the square in Independence. So that's kind of the end of the plug.
What size is that bandsaw?
It's a 36. Yeah, that's a Sterling.
36-inch bandsaw.
You guys, listen, I'm trying not to brag up here, okay? That's a 16-inch Oliver joiner. This is a 36-inch bandsaw, 30-inch double disc grinder. I got a wide belt sander back there. Nice Laguna table saw. There's a short stroke SCMI or Mighty Max on the other side. 20-inch Inco planer. That's a World War II naval lathe, and that was the small one of the 2 that I could have chosen from. It's ridiculous, and again, I can't even use it, man. But it's got a rack and pinion, so it's totally an awesome lathe. It's got a traditional rest, but you can put a rack and pinion on it and crank and do like machine work with it. And then the big Sterling American bandsaw. This is the outside of the very intimidating building that I talked my wife into moving into. Again, but her metal shop is on the upstairs, and she makes cool stuff. In fact, you guys should have her out to a guild meeting. Nothing to do with wood, but she makes cool stuff, and you guys make cool stuff, which is, I think, more perhaps important than the material, but you guys would be the judge of that. These are some stainless steel flowers going to Manitou Springs, hopefully in a week. And she puts cast glass in the insides. And so it's custom design. It's for the public art piece that she bid on. This is her in her natural habitat. This is how my wife works. We're both wacky. We both end up working full-time. Well, I mean, this is her full-time job, but she works all night, and I get home and end up doing stuff in that basement, setting up the shop mostly. This was I'm only showing you these because they're super fun to see. This is a big stainless steel sculpture that got taken out to San Francisco, and that's the front of the building, and that's it. It was like giving birth. When that thing came out the garage door, we had an inch on either side. It was an amazing hoist out. It was, and it made it because everybody was sweating. I don't think it's gonna go. Anyway, we drove that, we trailered that out to California, and let's go back. Gosh, sorry you guys. There we go. And so it's, 23, 25 feet tall. It's got 52 pieces of custom glass, all individually fit in frames going up the winds. Everything was hard from the computer model to getting the anchors in the concrete. It's so cool though. I mean, and that came out of her brain. So far out. And then she made it. She just made it right in front of me. That's unbelievable.
So you married up, is that right?
Totally married up. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm bragging to the team. These are in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, outside, right by that Frank Lloyd Wright Tower. It's a kids' water park that she made. Earlier this afternoon, it felt important to show you all these cool things my wife does. I don't know Butterfly in Florida. Those are in Castle Rock, Colorado. But I guess I was getting, well, it made sense linearly because we all make things, and so that's what the community is. It's wood and the enjoyment of building. In her case, it's metal, but she works with wood too, but she just makes me do it, and when I get steel done, I make her do it. So it's an equitable back and forth. I make stuff.
Make her do it?
What's that?
Make her do it?
No. Yeah. I'll tell you another thing. She's not a welder, she's a sculptor, and it's a funny distinction. Surely she can fix it if it's broken, but she's a sculptor. But she's super down to earth, of course. But I make stuff at night too. You know, I like you guys. This was the last cool thing, or the thing that I was really proud. This is my show and tell. It's a stereo cabinet for a client. I did it, I don't know, 2000 or 21, or I guess maybe 22. I forget. It was 2 years ago, 21. And it's timbre doors. First time I'd done the timbre doors, and of course I don't have a good picture with the audio gear in it. The speakers are set up, but it floats off the bottom. It's walnut, my walnut. I did use a little ply, but most of it's solid. I used ply for the hidden shelves just because I wanted the stability with the heat. But the timbre doors were totally cool. I glued canvas on the back of flutes, and the amps went in that lower unit, and they wanted to see the twinkle, and they kind of wanted this mid-century modern groovy vibe. But they wanted to see the amps twinkle, and so I had to cut the teardrop shapes in the timbre doors because the timbre doors weren't hard enough. Now I got to cut the teardrop shapes in the timbre doors. And then the inside of it looks like some weird sci-fi movie. So this is the inside of the cabinet looking, it looks like architecture. It's kind of funny. Disney Hall. But it's, this is the inside of the cabinet. So you could see the twinkle lights coming through the slits in the timbre doors. But I like doing stuff like that. My design, having fun with it. This is something by contrast I did like in 2009. Yeah, I'll make you a hood. I made all the kitchen cabinets, which I've only done a few kitchens entirely. But yeah, I'll make a hood. How could you complicate a hood? Let's see what we got. Let me try. So that's it's not Ipe. It's what's the mahogany substitute? What is it?
Sapele?
No, it's like environmental mahogany, like.
Luan. No.
None of us have said it yet. Or if they did, I didn't hear it. Anyway, it was like use this instead of mahogany from 10 and 15 years ago. But I glued up and then sculpted freehand the lower lobes, which obviously were the hard part. Who would sign up to do something like that, and for what purpose? Because I surely didn't get what I charged, or you guys know how that goes. But it was cool, and I got to see it. So I ran across this. I did it in 2009 or so, and I went back to their house 2 or 3 months ago. It's the first time since then. And I got to see my old friend, and what a good feeling that is when you see something and you're like, well, that wasn't so, yeah, I remember that, but it wasn't so horrible. And so that probably is one thing that unites us all, is just the love of making things. I still do, I don't like to talk about it, but I still do stuff with chic goods. I've been an exhibition designer. I used to be an exhibition designer at the Nelson Atkins, and Tony and Ray, who work with me, also were at the Nelson with me. Different roles, but I still do exhibition design work kind of part-time for fun because I like the design component of it. I made 13 cases for the Bespoke Bodies show at the World War I Museum, of which this is part of, and that lower prosthetic of the arm has a label on it that says made in Kansas City 1917, and it's all the fingers are manual and can move around, and they're all, I don't know what, boxwood or something tight grained, and it was painted, so I couldn't really tell. But 100 years ago, there was some badass running around Kansas City making prosthetics. What an amazing thing to think about. And anyway, I got to make the mounts for that arm, and so I'm still doing stuff. Also, I get African sculptures in, and I make wooden bases with, guess what, our drop pieces. So I take the drops and I make these just interesting bases that try to feel like the sculptures. Obviously, I love carving. I always think I'm going to sit down and make a bunch of cool carvings, but I haven't done it yet. But I'm gonna. Anyway, that's how it began for me. My first cabinet, and I'm off to the races after that. That's 1986 or so, obviously, and that was, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 15. And this is today, and that's my corner of that basement with all my stuff set up, and I'm sure you guys all have your own spaces set up just like that. Anyway, that's probably much more personal information about me and my wife than you guys wanted, but that's the lumber company and me involved with them. Is there any questions I can answer for you guys?
And we've got microphones here if you've got one. You got a question?
You have any use for catalpa?
Yeah, catalpa is, it's pretty fun. It's a little soft for a table, but it can be so pretty, and I think it gets prettier the older it gets, more purples and greens, oddly enough.
Well, if someone wants one, I know where there's one that's was killed by lightning years ago. And it came down 2 years ago. It's still sitting above ground because the root ball is holding it up.
It's a softer wood. I don't know how that'd go.
It's 25 to 30 inch diameter. Yeah, it's about 25 to 30 inches in diameter.
Well, we would saw it up if anybody wanted it. I am full up on logs after that whole jail thing, but that's the type of tip that anybody wanted to, carving wood, so a terrific carving wood, cut it into 12-quarter or thicker blanks, and that's the type of stuff that you can make terrific freehand carvings out of.
Any other questions?
I've often heard, companies that mill lumber places that with urban lumber, they often do not like to mill it because often they hit screws and nails and things. Is that a problem that you have?
We hit metal about 3% or less of the time, maybe 1%, and of that percentage that we hit metal, it's a deal breaker. That is, there's a cluster of nails or it's a lag bolt, like 0.25%. I mean, it's, less than 1 of 100 logs gets chucked because it had too much metal in it. That could mean that most of them are weeded out before they hit our mill. We do hit screws and stuff periodically, mostly nails, a lot of bullets. Like I said, a lag bolt's kind of a deal breaker because they're thicker and that'll pop the blade. But usually, and we have lumber also in our showroom racks right now that have metal in it and it's circled. We try to wand for everything. If we see staining, we always call it out when we see it. But it hasn't been enough of a dissuasion. The band mill is what has enabled everybody to do this in their backyard all of a sudden, the porta-mills and stuff. And those blades aren't horribly expensive, so even if and we sharpen in-house, and so even if you hit a little metal, you switch a blade out, somebody sharpens it, and you keep moving. We dig it out, we label it, we put it on the label when we find it, if we know. And so I don't think it's that big of a concern, and many people who are not as into woodworking as probably this room is, think it's interesting and kind of cool. Most of the time that stain totally plays, and so yeah, I think it's a go.
2 questions. Do you carry and stock any softwoods like Tupelo or others for wood carvers?
We get what we get. I don't order anything in, so I don't stock anything that just doesn't show up randomly. And so we had some cottonwood in, but it lingered. We are admittedly more focused on harder hardwoods, but we like the novelty of things, and so, we don't keep much cottonwood on the racks, and we certainly don't cut thick blanks just because of the duration required to dry them and the limited market for them. We're primarily producing stuff that we can visualize as bar tops, tables, stick furniture, that sort of thing. Not to be rude, but you can't pay the rent with carvers or turners. We almost put up a sign that said no turners. Ray turns, so like we're obviously planning. But
the other question is, can you process? We have family members that have taken down 100-year-old barns and hog houses and things like that. So they have literally 36-inch wide old growth trees that this stuff was made out of, and beams that are 12 by 8 by 30 feet. That's red
Braveheart pine.
It's an oak. It's the stuff that turns blood red.
Oh, I don't know that. We could saw
Heartwood.
Anything you wanted to bring in, we could saw generally. Obviously, if it's got a bunch of metal in it, that's going to get expensive or time-consuming, or both. But if it's, we'd saw old beams for folks all the time and make nice lumber out of it. Kind of got to use some good judgment on the integrity after depending on what you want to get out of it. Is there too many holes? Is it too rotten in that area? But sawing, even if it's old and hard, isn't too big of an issue. Osage orange is kind of a asterisk in that statement.
Thank you.
Quick question, your hours?
Are very clandestine and goofy hours. Thank you for bringing that up. The deal is, if you say you're going to be open, you can't go to Lowe's or go run an errand at 3 in the afternoon. So our hours officially are Thursday and Friday 1 to 6 and Saturday morning. And by that we mean you can always show up, and unless it's a holiday or snowed, which we'd have on Facebook or whatever, you can catch us. So it's Thursday and Friday afternoon, Saturday morning 9 to 11. But we're there all the time. Everybody's like, "What do you guys do for full-time work?" Man, we're working. So we're there 9 to 5 every day, and in fact, I try not to go in on Sundays, but I'm usually up there once a month on a Sunday for whatever reason. But having said that, if it is a running mill, and when I'm not there to answer the phone or greet people, 2 guys are down with their headphones just doing their thing, so it's hard to get their attention. So if you're going to show up outside of the posted hours, just give me a ring. We're real easy going about meeting people, as long as I'm not doing a delivery or something. We do deliveries, we go to the hardware store or whatever. I had to go to Metro Hardwoods today. I shouldn't have said anything, but isn't that, man, that is something.
What did you have to buy there?
I had to buy a stick of cherry. I was a couple. I feel as bad as anybody. I haven't bought hardwood from anybody in a long time, and yeah. And that's the other thing, doing all that casework for the World War I, this is going to sound gross coming from the urban lumber guy, but MDF is so choice sometimes. It's so Velveeta and gross, but at the same time, it just works so.
It's flat.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to deny I ever said that. So if anybody,
you're online live.
Compared to my day job, though, it is a weird contrast to going from heavy hardwoods all day, which I absolutely love. There's nothing like working with hardwoods all day. I guess it's the difference of something that plays so well and is not miserably heavy. Yes, sir. Well,
frequently in the guild, we foremen have a decision to make when somebody comes in with a big slab and thinks they're going to plane that thing with our time saver. Is it difficult if we just say go to urban hardwood?
No, it's a fair question, and please send them out. We're $100 an hour. We have a 2-head. I think it's probably the same machine, 2-headed, 2HD, whatever, 37. We put a 36 grit on and get after it. We'll also sled most stuff to get one side flat first, but we'll do it. I do not have an accurate crystal ball, however, so I don't know how the time will fly, but I can always take a good guess. It really depends on how twisted up it is.
We just want to get them out of here.
Yeah, send them down. Send them down. Yeah, I rarely turn down money.
Couple of questions. Where are you located again?
7200 East US Highway 40. It's essentially northwest of the stadiums, just a little bit north of I-70, a little bit west of the stadiums.
Are you behind or same lot as Missouri Organics?
We are about 4 businesses west of Missouri Organics, so down the hill. We're right where Highway 40 crosses over Manchester Trafficway on the northeast corner.
Okay. Big sign out front?
Big sign, but there's a bunch of logs everywhere.
That's the dead giveaway, huh?
You'd be surprised. I mean, everybody gets distracted looking around in that part of town, but it's a charming area if you haven't been out.
It's an industrial area.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's got.
So do you have wood dimensional other than slabs with live edge on them, or?
It's a great point. What is a slab? That's such a we're doing website stuff, and it's like, well, is this a board or a slab? Well, I don't know. What is a board? What is a slab? I don't know. What do you think? We sell 5/4, 7/4, and 9/4. So 1 1/4 rough, 1 3/4 rough, and 2 1/4 rough. Typically, we have been cutting thicker slabs, but they just take forever to dry. So at some point, we have periodically thicker pieces, but most of the time 5, 7, and 9/4 material of a variety of species, a variety of widths. So the 5/4 becomes, 1-inch lumber pretty regularly. It can be disorienting if you have a 5/4 piece that's 14 inches wide and live edge. All I got to do is cut those edges off, and now you've got a 1x8 or whatever, or whatever the shape is. So, and we do most of that in-house. So regularly people will come in and we'll cross-cut, drop an edge. If we get into planing and joining, we charge for our time, but cross-cutting, obviously, we just make it fit into what they want. Not precise cross-cuts. But we do a lot of point-of-sale woodworking to get people what they need fast.
So you'll take one of the rough edges off and
Yeah, and
both.
I mean, we'll plane and join and get it in your car in 10 minutes, 15 minutes if we can. Whatever it takes, whatever, big heavy hickory, maybe it'll take a while, but we do that right while people check out.
So I stumbled across a bunch of walnut recently and had to build a lumber rack in my backyard, and I've got about $150 in it. So, some of these bargains aren't as big a bargain as they look like.
Oh, it will be in the end.
It will be.
Yeah,
It's a bunch of wood.
Yeah.
So it's at 14% moisture content right now. Is that something I can pull into my house and let it finish drying out?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the balance in your house. 14 is pretty close. I mean, our kilns stop at 7 to 10%. And 14 is like the high edge of where I would do any gluing or woodworking. 15 is kind of it's not dry yet. So you could run a dehumidifier by it, but it's probably just going to need a couple more weeks or months. But also you got a meter, the meter matters. The more expensive you can put down on a meter, the better your meter is going to be. And then, but also trust your hand as a guide. If it feels cool to the touch, it's probably wet, and that's a real, like, once you get used to that, nope, that's cold. And back it up with a meter, but there's so much to drying wood. Circulation seems to be the most important thing from my experience, is just keeping wind cutting across it. So dry air is better.
Well, the first thing I did was put a plastic tarp over it.
That's not the one you want to do.
Exactly. So the second thing I did was take the plastic tarp off of it.
Good. That's cool.
Anybody else?
Well, thank you guys very much.
Well, Tim, we thank you very much. And sounds like you already have one of these, but
now you
got a whole set. So that's the mug shot. So we really appreciate you coming in, and great program. Loved hearing about all the stuff, including all the personal stuff.
I appreciate it.
Put the microphone down. Take another one.
All right. Put this cup back. Here you go. All right.
And I was asked to bring in some boards, and I didn't, because I'm sick of moving boards around. But I did bring in 3 stickers, and he got 1, so I've got 2 extra stickers. Should anybody want a free Urban Lumber Company sticker, I think they would look good somewhere up there. And we are a sponsor, so thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody. As always, be safe going home. Help clean up, and help put the chairs away. And everyone have a great evening. Thank you.
Special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and for more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild, and remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.